The law in relation to sex offences is quite specialised and can be quite complex if you don't practice in that area. It requires a particular type of sensitivity, and it requires the practitioner to be really versatile because sex offences can occur in many different contexts. So I often get clients attend who have been accused of a sex offence, and my job is to review the allegations, the brief of evidence, and help advise that client about what the best way is to deal with that matter. Sex offence laws are particularly complex because they have pieces of legislation, or there's legislation that is solely relevant to sex offences. What it means is that a person who is accused of a sex offence is usually faced not only with the charge that they are dealing with, but they're also faced with public scrutiny. Ultimately, we always start at the same step, and that is reviewing the brief of evidence. The brief of evidence contains the material that the prosecution are going to rely on in order to prove the charge. Then work with the client in formulating either a defence or working with the client in formulating a plea to the charges. That might involve negotiating the charges. I have acted for clients who have been wrongly accused. A few years ago, I acted for a teacher who was accused of a number of sex offences in relation to his students. Following the criminal proceeding in the magistrates court, he was convicted of those offences. We appealed that decision and he was convicted again in the county court. We appealed that decision again. That resulted in a retrial. And the retrial ultimately resulted in his acquittal. What that required was immense persistence and hard work and trust from the client in us that we would ultimately get the right outcome. We didn't change anything about the way we had prepared the matter or had conducted ourselves. From the outset, we had formed a view that he should have been found not guilty of the charges. It was simply a matter of being able to put that before a judicial officer that could see that that was the case. There was a lot of evidence in that case that carried sort of an emotional weight, and we ultimately needed to put it before a judicial officer that could see beyond that. The persistence in fighting for what we thought was right, what we ultimately believed from the outset, that got us there in the end. Clients that are charged with sex offences often come to you in the darkest and most trying times of their life. I enjoy practicing in this field because I can help them through that process. Other practitioners sometimes struggle with this area of law because it is so emotionally charged, but I find it very rewarding to be able to help a client through this difficult period and get them the outcome that's right for them, and also try to make that process as easy as possible.